What is up YouTube, my name is John and today it's time for another album review. Today I will be reviewing the album I Disagree from the artist Poppy, and before we begin I just want to say a huge thanks to all of you guys who have shown your support on my Poppy reactions. Tons of comments, mostly great comments, and yeah, I had a bit of a rough start with Poppy because X wasn't really, something that I thoroughly enjoyed, but with this album it's a little bit different. We'll get into that in just a second. So thank you guys so much for your support, and you guys wanted me to review this album, so here we go. So yeah, as I said before, I had a bit of a rough start with Poppy because my very first song, as I said before, was X, and I just kinda wasn't impressed. It was shocking, yes, but musically the blend of genres felt very lackluster to me. But then I Disagree came round and made me eat my words. Imagine if Baby Metal, Marilyn Manson, Trent Reznor, and Humanity's Last Breath had a... Yeah, you can't really imagine that. This album is about provocation, about extremes, about being basically torn between two worlds, the light and the dark, heavy yet poppy. If a moment of calm stays too long in a song, then you can be sure that Poppy is gonna come back with a vengeance very soon, dancing between genres like industrial metal, especially on the song Feel the Crown, and I seriously feel like I heard Marilyn Manson during the verses there, metalcore, deathcore, I don't know, folk, indie, noise, pop, trap, everything is on this album. Overall, it's quite the experience to say the least. Poppy's voice also goes places like now she raps, oh now she's screaming and wailing, now she is singing beautifully like she's singing to, a couple of children or something like that. But sometimes she just goes into this straight up creepy scary territory, and man, when she does these vocals you really believe her, you really believe that she's pouring her heart into these vocals. Like, if you've seen the videos with her where she seems like a robot, right? But on this album she's anything but that. She just shows a ton of emotions, a ton of versatility, and that is always great to hear. And yeah, the creepiness, I believe, it's intentional, it's obviously intentional, this album has many shocking moments. Like, if you're not prepared, if you do not know what you're going into, oh boy, you're gonna have a hard time. Alright, so let's get into the actual tracks on this album. Now, this album begins with the song Concrete, and it kicks off with sirens and Poppy being all creepy saying bury me 6 feet deep. And after great ambient build-up, it goes bonkers. Suddenly, you are bombarded with heavy riffs, brutal double bass drums, and before you know it, you are thrown into a chorus that just sounds like a kid's song. Yummy, yummy, stuff like that. Now, if this sounds crazy to you, again, you are in for a ride because there's gonna be much more stuff like that on this album. And yeah, definitely cannot shake off the baby metal vibes in the chorus there. But after that, it just keeps on changing. The thing with these songs is that it just keeps changing directions without any real transitions, except for maybe the final part where it gets real groovy and lighthearted, except it's again about Poppy wanting to be buried 6 feet deep and covered in concrete. Yeah, I actually love this song at first listen, but after more listens after that, and once the shock factor kinda worn off, it was still fun, but still felt quite random for the sake of being random, especially, except for the last part. In the rest of the song, these changes just Now, I Disagree is a banger with a huge groovy chorus and verses with dirty electronics. Poppy is sounding very, let's say, unhappy to say the least. And unlike Concrete, this song is actually very cohesive and flows just like a dream. Even the little bridge section that is quite different from the rest of the song, and where Poppy showcases her more positive and happy side, I guess you could say, it feels like it fits really well into the song. And yeah, this song is definitely one of my favorites, and this would probably be the song that I would recommend to you to listen to first from this album if you want to go for the singles. But I think the better thing to do right here is to actually listen to this album, you know, from the very first song to the last song, especially on your first listen. And I'm going to mention why at the end of this review. Now, Blood Money is a noisy trip filled with intense beats, bassiness, dark industrial sounds, and Poppy, yeah, being Poppy. But hey, we even get a little instrumental solo here, and this song could easily be a senseless mess, but thankfully this song actually held together really well, especially after hearing Concrete, and it just got better from here. Now, if you're here for heavy guitars, Bite Your Teeth is gonna be your thing. That song is heavy as balls, yet still has these moments where you're like, what the actual F is happening? Am I in a cartoon or something? Because there's one part that just sounds like straight up from a kid's cartoon, but with Poppy singing "Bite your teeth, bite your own teeth," and that is kinda, you know, an unnerving lyric, like really something. If you think about it, it's just you know, feel the chills. And there is even a little, you know, a snippet where there is a transition and a sound of someone crunching on like an apple or something. And you know, when you think about these lyrics and you hear that sound and the transition and what comes after, you are left in awe, in confusion, but in the best possible way. This song progresses basically into an absolute deathcore monster. Like, some deathcore bands could even learn a trick or two right here, because there are two massive breakdowns, and oh my god, what immediately popped in my mind was Humanity's Last Breath. Yeah, it's that kind of heavy, and there is even, you know, even after the shock factor kind of wears off and like second listen, third listen, this song still works. It's definitely one of my favorites on this album, but not just for being heavy, but you know, just for how well it holds together, even though there are some really crazy parts in this one, but those are almost in every single song on this album, so be ready for that. And also, this song contains probably the cutest "go" before a breakdown hits, so be ready for that. But this album also has a moment where I'm being surprised by not actually being surprised, and that song is Sick of the Sun. Now, this song is very different from the rest of the album, like not extremely different, because it still has Poppy's vocals, and I believe it's one of the calmest tracks on this album, together with Nothing I Need. But that one just kinda didn't stick with me for some reason, didn't really, you know, impress me or stick in my head just all that much. But this one, very chilled out ambient vibe. Again, probably the poppiest song on this album, but you know, it's actually one of my favorites. Who would have thought, right? But it's very emotional and melancholic, something that I did not expect to hear on this album. And for once, I was actually glad that there's like no twist to this song, because most of the other songs always have something to shock you with. They always have a twist. And sometimes it might feel a little bit, you know, out there, a little bit maybe even forced, there I use that word. But thankfully there's not that many moments on this album that feel like this. But it's just, you know, a nice change of pace on the album, and no heavy drops, no random descents into madness, just a fun song with a cool atmosphere. Yeah! Sit Stay is kind of a fun track, and you know, the very beginning, I just felt like I'm in some sort of racing game or FPS game, because that beginning just reminded me of, I don't know, maybe the old Unreal Tournament soundtrack, one of my favorite games of all time, Unreal Tournament 99. Go check out that soundtrack, it's fucking amazing. But yeah, the beginning just felt like something from a game, and the song, you know, goes places here and there. It's okay, it's fun, but again, after multiple listens, this one just didn't stick out all that much. but it's still more on that fun part of this album, at least for me. And also there are, you know, couple of parts here where Poppy is singing like these really, you know, drawn out long notes in the back, and that just for some reason reminded me of Madonna's song, I believe it was Frozen, where Madonna just goes like, ooh, if I could melt your heart. I'm never doing that again. Also, this song ends kind of weirdly and abruptly, just like this. You know, there's lots of crazy noises at the end of this song, and it just sets up for such a cool transition into the next song, but it just ends like this, you know, silence. There's like, I don't know, 3 seconds of silence, and it just feels kind of off for me, but you know, what do I know about songwriting? But yeah, that was just a weird moment, but overall this was a fun track. And yeah, the song Anything Like Me, it feels like a little bit like a female version of Marilyn Manson, I guess. The second time that I'm mentioning Marilyn Manson, and Poppy even mentioned Marilyn Manson as one of the artists who like inspire her, so I can definitely see where she's coming from actually. So if I want to listen to Marilyn Manson, I'm just gonna go listen to Marilyn Manson, and this song is okay, not my favorite on this album. And, you know, still had fun listening to this, but after multiple listens, it's definitely one of those tracks that I would just, you know, skip and just go into another track. Now, Don't Go Outside. It's kind of this like a throwback song to the other stuff that we've heard on this album, choruses, and it brings back the great chorus of I Disagree, and then you can also hear Concrete, and there's probably many other things that I've missed at the end there, but that's in the second part. And in the first part of the song, it kind of feels like it's not really going anywhere. The progression kind of feels like it's dragging a little bit, at least that is how I felt about it. And, you know, I'm just kind of glad that things kind of come full circle here at the end there, because it makes it feel like an album. This song, this ending of the song, just makes it feel like that. It might be my least favorite song on this album, but it's by no stretch like a horrible song, not even a bad song. It just feels kind of mediocre, not really, you know, going anywhere. Didn't really give me any kind of specific feeling. But yeah, this one just kind of flew past me, except for that ending. Overall, I can say that I enjoyed this album more than I expected. It weirded me out, it made me feel things, it shocked me, it made me headbang, and most of the songs just kept me entertained. So this album is enjoyable, but I just have a feeling that Poppy can go even further with this concept of post-genre that she talked about in an interview. And I actually went back and checked some of her older stuff, and oh boy, talk about being a versatile artist, from pure modern pop to something like an 80s sounding retro kind of vibe pop to deathcore, metal. There are just absolute bangers on this album, but also songs that just don't really have a super strong hook, and moments that just feel a little bit too rough around the edges. Sound and production, I have really no bad things to say about this album. It sounds great, and given the crazy variation of genres, the producers did an amazing job. And also another thing that I wanted to say about this album is, except maybe for the last song, Don't Go Outside, all of the other songs can stand on their own. The music videos are really great, even though, you know, they might be weird, but they are really well shot. And yeah, I believe that all of these songs, except for the last one, can really stand on their own and just be their own thing. We also have to keep in mind that this is Poppy's first album without her previous musical partner, who I really wanted to put a Titanic joke here, but I can't sing that low.
Stop it. Get some help.
Overall, my rating for Poppy's album I Disagree is 7 out of 10. Shock factor and experiments are one thing, but good songwriting is also very important to me, and while it had its hiccups, I still believe that I'm going to be returning to a couple of songs from this album in the future. And yeah, it just feels like it's just the beginning of something even better that Poppy is maybe already cooking and that she might surprise us with in the future. And I also wanted to mention my favorite tracks. Those are Fill the Crown, Bite Your Teeth, Sick of the Sun, and I Disagree. And my least favorite tracks are Don't Go Outside and Nothing I Need. Alright guys, so that is it for the review of Poppy's newest album, I Disagree. I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on this album. I really enjoyed it, and you know, I think I've said all that I wanted to say about this album. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this album. What are your feelings, what you agree with, what you disagree with, what is your rating, and also how you feel about this format of doing, you know, reviews, because I'm still kind of figuring that out. And yeah, I did a Baby Metal review before, and that ended up, you know, I was kind of satisfied with how it ended up. So I'm just gonna see how your guys' response will be to this review. I hope you liked it. If you did, consider leaving a thumbs up, subscribe for more stuff, because as you know, there is always more videos coming your way. And if you feel like talking to me outside of YouTube, there are as always links to my social medias down in the description below this video, as well as a link where you can directly support my channel and what I do here, either via PayPal or on Patreon. So guys, again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. So have a nice day, evening, night, or whatever you have right now. Cheers. That was a spinner.